Hey everyone, welcome back to the PC Perspective Podcast. We've reached episode 726. This is being recorded on June 7, 2023. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Brett Van Sproonberg.
And I'm Kent Burgess.
That's right, Kent is back again. Regular podcast panelist at this point. I mean, let's just admit it. He's part of the PCPer staff at this point.
Like it or not.
Yeah.
That's how I got out of traveling to a symposium for work this week.
Ah, oh, good. We're handy too.
Wait, because of this podcast?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Really?
I'm sorry, I have an important engagement. 10 p.m. on Wednesday night.
I can't miss it.
No, who would? You can support the site and podcast by going to patreon.com/PCPer, that's PCPer, and be like Alan's back and Seb's mic fixed. And Imaginos,
Hands of Fate. Does he have a big need guy that helps him around? Gets all these beautiful women and young girls to hang out, chase people off the ranch. Imaginos. Am I thinking the right guy?
I mean,
Sure.
Torgo is king.
it's time for Josh's food segment. Please tell us about
this one was this one was a monster. So I talked to the owner for some years about doing a 50-50 burger, and 50-50 is half ground sausage, half ground beef. And he did it. He finally did it, and he did it in an insane way. So this is called the Slaughterhouse Split. 2 half sausage and beef patties topped with Gouda, candied bacon, candied jalapenos, and finished with a sun-dried tomato aioli. And let me tell you, I ate 2/3. It was just so rich, so filling. It was really good. The fries were great too, but that burger was something else. I think I'm going to have it for the next 2 weeks. So if you ever make the pilgrimage up here, you will be happy with it. And, you know, if they had plated it rather than wrapped it up for me to take out, it would have looked a whole lot nicer. But still, I mean, it's just this candied jalapeno, candied bacon, 50-50 burger mix that it's going to put me in an early grave, but worth it.
Our first news story of the week is probably not a big shock to anybody, but it's official. AMD has confirmed AM5 support for Ryzen 8000 processors. So Zen 5 will be on AM5, which I thought was already
Navi 3.5
known. What is Navi 3.5?
There's a lot of 5s.
Is that a die shrink Navi 3?
I don't know.
They
won't
just
tell us
sort of codenamed it
because-
and didn't say a damn thing.
Yeah.
We'll talk in a minute about Zen 4C, but
Zen 4C kind of kicks ass.
I know. Let's just talk about it.
What they did.
This wasn't really much of a story. It's just like, yeah, we knew the roadmap, and you know that's what it is. But
Well, we know AM5 will be around for a while, so all right.
at least another year.
Yeah, at least another. Sure. Okay. It'll be
like
fun.
Intel. You can get 2 generations of processors on the same socket, and then you move on.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Okay. Zen 4C CCDs. Twice as many cores per CCD, and it's barely 10% larger, says this article on Tech Power Up via semi-analysis. Look at these things. 16 cores. What's the catch, Josh? Is there any possible downside to this shrinkening?
It's as far as I know, it's using the same 5 nanometer EUV as the 8 core, but they are shoving 16 in there. And I saw a little kind of diagram of core v core of the old versus new, and I mean they've just somehow just crammed it all in there.
You know how?
In a much smaller space.
Way less L3 cache.
Is it?
Oh.
16 megs of L3. Well, even with that, it's it's still small, and it's going to be pretty interesting in these in these big chips because it's very very dense, lots of cores. Yeah, they give up some L3, but boy, it's a lot of cores.
What was the non-I or the non-C IO die pattern? Was that also 6 nanometer? I just saw a reference to
The IO die is a TSMC N6. CCD
Yeah.
process node is TSMC N5.
Okay, so they didn't shrink the IO die; they kept that the same size.
Yeah, there's
they're-
no
they're-
real reason to do much with that.
By having the L3 cache, they are gaining a lot of real estate. But, it depends on the workload. If this trickles over to, desktop, then it's kind of interesting to me, just considering how much of a focus there has been on L3 cache
Yeah.
to increase performance on AM5. And here we are on the server side saying, not every program is so
Workload.
L3 cache
Yeah.
dependent because L2 is still there.
So if you've got a workload that doesn't need the L3 so much, but likes a lot of cores, oh my.
I like this comparison in the Tech Power Up article here. They're saying that the Zen 4C is shaping up to be AMD's answer to Intel's E-cores. Obviously a mix
And this
of
sort of
the
leads
two.
to a story that Jeremy has in the notes a little later that I'd made a comment on the website. And I was going to bring that up when we get to that story. But I've been really surprised that we haven't seen all E-core chips from Intel yet, because just of the space of those E-cores, you could fit massive numbers of E-core only processors on even a LGA 1700 sized die.
Yes. And we have a story about something like that a little bit
Right.
later. But speaking of AMD stuff,
Weird.
this is an article from Chips and Cheese about the RX 7600. Obviously, that's the new addition to the RDNA 3 family, and it's the only one below the XT and XTX in the 7900 series. But something interesting about this, and of course, it's not a chiplet-based design, and it's a very small, almost mobile-like chip. And in their testing, and they do this very specific kind of testing to identify potential design weaknesses, and they do it in scenarios that are not necessarily realistic for the way that you'd use this product, but it's interesting to sort of examine the architecture. And the takeaway from this was, among other things, that the RX 7600 has significantly lower cache and memory latency than big RDNA 3.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I don't quite follow, but it's very neat.
Well, maybe it's just me. I feel like this is super obvious. My concern when we went to the RDNA 3 Tech Day was that with the chiplet design, you'd think there'd be an inherent latency penalty because you're going external, even though they're using these very fast interlinks.
Interconnects.
But this seems to validate that because according to this article anyway, the 7900 XTX takes 58% longer to get data from its Infinity cache than the 7600 XT. Oh, they actually say XT. That's not the real product. Because remember, they dropped the XT because it only had 8 gigabytes of VRAM. That's just a theory. But yeah, VRAM latency is higher on the 7900 XTX too. And the takeaway is that it's because of the chiplet design.
Be interesting to see how that does, what effect it has in real world gaming and stuff that actually isn't just benchmarks.
I'm starting to wonder if the trade-offs with that design, as much of a technical accomplishment as it was to go with the chiplet architecture, obviously on die is going to be your lowest latency, highest bandwidth solution. But offloading memory where it doesn't make sense to scale it to lower and lower process nodes anymore, that was more of a economical decision than a performance decision, right? Because it also allows the GPU die to be smaller, get higher yields, lower costs.
Yeah, I'm guessing that the 7800, if it ever comes out, is probably not going to be chiplet.
Yep.
It's not exactly the panacea that we were hoping for, but you got to take the first steps sometime. And, the 7900 series and XT and XTX, They fill a niche and they perform pretty well for what they are. But it makes you wonder if how much performance they have left on the table by going with the chiplet design, and if it, will they continue that with 3.5? Maybe Navi 3.5 will be non-chiplet because it's just too much of a hit for the silicon saved. I don't know. I don't have any answers. We're going to have to wait and see.
It makes me wonder if this Navi 3.5 code name that we just got dropped on us has anything to do with any of that.
Or a totally separate product line, yeah.
Yeah, if it's processor graphics, then of course it would have to be monolithic, I assume.
I would think.
Yeah.
Or I don't really understand architecture well enough to speak intelligently about any of this, but in our next story, this is from Tom's Hardware. With its silicon transition complete, Apple seems to have new confidence in its Macs. Yes, that's right. The Mac Pro is now Apple Silicon. It's M2 something, like Ultra or Super or something. And Intel is gone. Apple no longer sells any new Macs with Intel processors. It's over.
So for those of you who really, really were pining after a Mac Pro with an Intel processor, you've got to find a shelf warmer special right now.
I don't know. At some point, maybe those will go up in value in the used market because there'll be somebody who has to have that older version of a pro level software or something. But I doubt it.
That does happen. That does happen, though.
It does happen, but I feel like if it's pro level software, then there'll be an Apple Silicon update for it.
Or perhaps they just badly are in need of a cheese grater.
Yep.
What is this M2 Ultra anyway? I mean, Brett is back.
Well,
Obviously, we have to tease him about Apple stuff.
But of course, it does come with PCIe Gen 4 slots.
Yeah.
So
I mean, probably zero compatible cards on Earth, but it has the slots.
As they splashed a huge list of
do they?
Potentially compatible cards.
Oh, potentially.
Yes, they did.
Let's look at this M2 Ultra. It's got 24 CPU cores now. That's good. Up to a 76-core GPU. Are they talking about AI yet? Is this going to be the old? Because it has 800 gigabytes per second of memory.
Well, they've got the neural engine. Yeah.
192 gigabytes of unified memory.
Up to. And you'll pay quite a lot as you become more unified.
How much? I want to know now. I want to go to apple.com and order one of these.
Oh gosh, let's do that. Let's go configure one. Let's just say the Mac Pro. Is that the one we're going to go look at? The Pro,
of course.
Or the Studio?
Yeah. We're not going Studio.
Okay,
Come
the
on.
Pro.
I want to see how much money we could put in our cart.
I think.
Make sure to get the wheels.
You find this very expensive. It starts on a very reasonable $7,000 price.
Look at this.
So,
the most expensive solution, $1,000 upcharge. And then the most expensive memory is $1,600. This is not like the $40,000 Mac Pro. Look at that. I just put in the most memory and the fastest processor.
And you're only at 10 grand.
Under 10 grand.
You're only at 10. Now, do you
I'm charging this to the company anyway.
1 terabyte? 1 terabyte?
No, you need
I think not.
And look at that. Even with 8 terabytes. Now, I have to get with wheels.
Ooh,
wheels are only $400. Okay.
They made them cheaper.
Magic mouse and trackpad, sure. Let's see.
Yeah, you want
Final Cut
that.
Pro, Logic Pro, add all that.
Oh, you want those too? Oh my goodness.
Look at that. It's under 13 grand for the most expensive Mac Pro you can order.
I'm going to insist that you put this on the company card.
I'm going to insist that you text me the number real quick. I will order this, and for the site, I will test it, and then I'll put it back behind me as an art piece.
Thank you very much.
So,
you know what? There may be some value in the original Intel cheese graters.
Well, you should hope so, because it costs like $40,000 maxed out. So.
As an art piece, I was going to play into art piece.
Yeah, if somebody can buy one of those soon-to-be useless boxes. The Framework laptop, that modular laptop, has had another update. Can you tell us about it, Jeremy?
Absolutely not. It's a secret.
Oh.
This is the first 13th gen that they're selling. So, it is kind of a big jump for the Framework, which started out as, it's a great idea, but can they really make it work? To, well, it's getting better, to this one, which apparently is quite nice. And as usual, you can either pop out and get the module that encompasses the motherboard and the processor and pop it in, but they've also got a brand new shell out because they've been smart enough to realize that sometimes people just like to buy the whole thing regardless. So a new screen, upgraded keyboard, all of that is nice to have, but just the fact that everything is modular. These guys are still in business. They haven't been taken over by someone else. The prices are getting a little more reasonable. I mean, it's still $2,000 for the i7 1370p, but still. And this is the big one. So this is not available yet.
Ooh.
But it will be coming soon that you'll be able to get a Ryzen 7040 series modular upgradable framework laptop. And this is kind of interesting.
Very.
Yeah.
This is more compelling to me because you're going to get, let's see, it's a Ryzen 5 7640U or a Ryzen 7 7840U.
Yeah.
DDR5, 5600.
Yeah, and decent amounts of it.
Yeah, for only
Significantly cheaper
$80,
than
it's
Apple.
16 gigs. Not bad.
And I mean, when it goes out of style, you just pop those modules out, pop in the brand new ones, and away you go. And you won't have to probably replace the motherboard because, as we were talking earlier, the next gens are still using AM5.
Is this socketed or is this...
it's a module.
Oh, I see.
It is sort of BGA, but literally you're popping in a thing. But it's, on the same level as popping in as if CPU. So yeah, framework is still a little bit pricey, but I think in part it's just because you've got to design all these modules. Each of those needs to be packaged securely, properly. But the idea is just brilliant, is that there is a workable, upgradable laptop around that's been around for a couple of generations now. So hey, keep an eye out because unless you're an Apple fan, in which case you just want to buy a new system every 3 years anyways.
I know. I think I should have invested $100,000 in them just like everybody else, but I missed that boat.
Our next story from Serve the Home, Beelink EQ12 Pro. Now this looks like an Intel branded next unit of computing, and I dare not pronounce that because everybody has a opinion about how you pronounce acronyms. But this has an Intel i3 N305 Alder Lake N. And what's interesting about this? All E-cores. A fully E-core machine.
I have a point. I have a point of inquiry here.
Okay, yes.
If all of the cores are E-cores, are they still E-cores or are they just cores on that particular chip?
Do they even make such a thing? Is this just, it's Gracemont, so therefore it's what we would think of as E-cores, or is this something that's like disabled?
They're not multi-threaded cores.
No.
And they absolutely sip power.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I mean, they're not really atoms, but they are.
Well, I mean, they're the son of Atom.
Yeah.
Woohoo. Yeah, no, it's pretty decent. 16 gigs of DDR5, 512 gig NVMe SSD. That's Gen 3 on a 1x link. Some sacrifices had to be made.
Yeah.
So that does kind of suck a little bit. But just the overall looking of it is pretty impressive. And the benchmarking shows that, hey, it's not going to trash an i9, but compared to like the previous Atoms and even some of the i5s, and definitely the Celerons.
When Gracemont launched the Alder Lake E-cores, they were talking about performance versus Skylake, that it was 40% better performance at the same power or 40% less power for the same performance. So I'm guessing this is going to be more of the power saving, same performance as Skylake kind of a thing. Because this implementation on this new mini PC from Beelink is a 15 watt TDP, 8 core.
Mm-hmm.
So is 8 Skylake cores enough in current year? Let's look at their benchmark results. Let's see.
You can see, I mean, it's
you
not...
compile the Linux kernel, obviously, on a mini PC, is what you do.
Oh, sure.
Well, I mean...
And where did it fall?
Look at this. It's faster than a Core i7 7700T. I think the T are the 35 watt parts.
The configurable ones, yeah.
How many cores is the 7700? Is that still 4 core 8 thread?
That's 4 core 8 thread.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So it has the core advantage. A little bit slower than the 8500T, which is 6 core 35 watt Coffee Lake. So it's not unbelievable performance, but it's very good for 15 watts.
Yeah, and I mean, it's trouncing the Celerons and the Atoms that you usually find in those things.
Oh, yeah, like that Celeron N5095 at the bottom, the Atom C5315, Celeron J6413. Those $300, Walmart laptops that are running one of these. No,
Yeah.
you don't want that. You could barely browse the web on those things.
Oh, they were quite unhappy with anything.
See what other
And
benchmarks are
what
in here.
was it? They got it with Windows 11 already installed.
That seems like a mistake.
And I don't think it was much more than $300. I don't see it.
Yeah, let's look at Geekbench. Why not?
Yes, let's.
Look, it's
300
actually running at a lower speed, but it's significantly faster.
Yes. Oh, I see. Because the Celeron J4125 is 2 gigahertz, and this one's only 1.8. But that's base. It was probably boosting.
Yeah.
This is actively cooled, I assume, this mini PC.
I think when you were flipping through, I think I saw a grate on the bottom, shape of a fan, something like that.
Yeah, no, they've got several exhausts. And there is, like, underneath on the bottom is, like, an SSD cooler.
So it should be able to sustain some pretty high clocks then. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's a pretty beefy, it's laptop style cooler there on a 15 watt. This could easily be made, and has already been made. I saw Fanless Tech had posted a ready to go fanless version of this. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, the highest they ever saw it spike was 36 watt. And that was a spike. That was not, like, sustained was like 25 watt. Which is pretty impressive.
Indeed. Hey,
Who'd have thought, as time goes on, that we would get faster performance for lower power? Never happens.
Nope.
it used to happen every generation. And then the dark times.
Back in my day.
The Empire. It's time for Security Corner already. And let's go to Bleeping Computer. Barracuda says hacked ESG appliances must be replaced immediately.
As opposed to later.
And that's an email security gate, by the way. So it's something you specifically bought to ensure the security of your company.
Yeah, and you keep it patched, right? So you keep it patched.
These
and it
are
says,
great.
And then the company tells you, quote, impacted ESG appliances must be immediately replaced regardless of patch version level, end quote.
And by the way, our sale just ended. Everything's full price right now.
Yeah.
I find the hacked security appliances to just be so filled full of, what is that German word? Schadenfreude? Something
Yes.
like that.
But yeah, so it's been since at least October 2022 that they've had a rather nasty backdoor into it. And that was when it was first used. And of course, once you're in, all of a sudden, the world's your oyster. You can dump all sorts of amazing things in there that you really, really don't want. So, yeah, apparently these are essentially bricked. Toss them out. And maybe
it's interesting, though.
Different vendor?
On Barracuda's site, they have a specials section. And under the list, it actually has insecurity devices.
Oh.
And you can get these for really inexpensive.
How to add additional insecurity to your head end? To your head.
Are you making your own honeypot? Well, we've got the product for you.
For you.
It looks
It's for
secure,
security
but
researchers.
it's not.
Perfect.
Do you feel like your border network is just a little too tightened down? Well, let us punch a hole in that for you.
It's good practice. Keep your security team on their toes.
Do you have a customer that you really don't like? Well, install some of these.
Hey, speaking of
bad.
customers, you know that Honda makes, they make everything. Like Yamaha, they make everything. Well, not as much. I don't think Honda makes guitars, but
I'm sure they do.
they make small small power equipment. What am I trying to say? They make power equipment like lawnmowers and things. And if you went to an authorized dealer, you're taken care of, right? And you're doing the right thing, and you get a warranty, and you also get pwned. 21,393 customer orders across all dealers from August of 2016 to March of 2023. Customer name, address, phone number, items ordered, emails, potentially Stripe, PayPal, and Authorized.net private keys.
For the dealers,
you can find
anyways.
them. Internal financial reports. That'll affect the dealers more than the customers, but still, I mean, if you had your credit card on file with your local dealer, it's probably
Yeah.
compromised.
So what got wedged here? How did they get in? Insecure private networking. What was the deal?
Well, they
were
relied
using
on
Barracuda
Barracuda
appliances.
as their.
You guys
No.
stepped on each other with that one. That was awesome.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I thought it said it was the same as there was a Toyota flaw, I think. Let me see. The security gap in Honda's systems was discovered by a security researcher using the pseudonym EatonWorks, who is the same that breached Toyota's supplier portal a few months back, leveraging similar vulnerabilities. They exploited a password reset API to reset the password of a valuable account, enjoy unrestricted admin level data access on the firm's network. That's not
So they could essentially probably ask for a password reset on privileged users without like a notification to the existing user.
Yeah.
And then get a password reset. And they probably had an open URL that allowed the password reset to provide the return email so that they would get the password reset email and then be able to click through typical way we do the password resets via, clickable link or something like that. But I bet there was an API that allowed them to provide the email to send that password reset to. So that sucks.
That's not very reassuring.
And it is not.
It's going to happen to more and more
It's okay, it
companies
gets worse.
every year.
And Bruce says, LOL, the easiest way in are insecure employees. I'd have to agree.
Correct.
Yes.
Hey, speaking of
link in the chain.
insecurities, Gigabyte.
Yeah.
Gigabyte's firmware auto update feature is insecure,
Convenient.
apparently.
Oh, sorry.
No. Well, I mean, the feature is,
convenient.
it's not transparent. Oh, invisible.
It's better.
No.
It's better than transparent. It's invisible.
I was going to say, it's just Eclipsium is the people who looked it up, and the damn thing downloads firmware updates without any authentication over HTTP. And I don't know how many times we can tell companies that this is not how you do business. That's just insane.
Oh, it's up to 406 models now.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see, B450, 550, the A620s, the A520s. It's going to be everything. B650s, B660s, 760s, probably all the Intel boards too. Yeah.
The old H1s.
X570 board, C690.
Yep, there it is.
Where's yours?
The Z690 RS Master. It's on the right-hand column.
Yeah. Both revisions.
Keep
so it doesn't
throwing
really
up a
matter.
little bit, would you?
The X570 on there?
No,
Yeah.
but regular X570s are not on there.
Really?
Isn't that
Only the
X570?
You're
ARS
safe.
is-
I am safe.
I've got an ARS Gaming 7.
That's not an S, though. It looks like none of the original X570s are on this list. Probably, it's just missed it.
Yeah, they just haven't got on there yet.
Yeah, I just haven't updated it yet.
And it isn't anything older than for Intel, anything older than Z590, I think.
Yeah.
There you go, kids. Trust the old motherboards, not the new ones.
That's right. There's going to be a huge surge in sales for Z7. Wait, Z490. Is that what it was?
I know you can't get him. Can't get him anymore anyway. So apparently, based on what I read, they were phoning home every time they booted, or every time they got turned on, or something like that, and could reach the internet. And what'd you say it was? HTTP, and I guess that was easy to own for some reason.
Oh, they didn't properly
Particular
authenticate.
technique. Oh, of course.
Yeah, why bother putting a hash in there? I mean, I'm sure that Gigabyte Updater Service.exe is going to do only the good things.
Well, since the motherboard is reaching out for an update, why don't the hackers and slashers out there supply one and give them a handy BIOS with a backdoor? So that's what they
But your computer will also run 3% faster.
Oh, well, fantastic.
Gigabyte, as of June 1st, said that their engineers had already mitigated potential risks and uploaded the Intel 700, 600, and AMD 500, 400 series beta BIOS to the official website after conducting thorough testing and validation of the new BIOS on Gigabyte motherboards. And they're implementing stricter security checks during the OS boot process now to detect and prevent possible malicious activities.
But the lovely thing is that they pretty much can't patch this.
Yeah.
You are vulnerable. End of story. Like you can't get rid of it. They can push some updates out, but apparently in some cases, just because of the way that it works, it's not set up to do it. So they can either not get you minor firmware updates for your various components on the board, or you're still in a little bit of risk.
I think the internet was
like a whole. It was from the very beginnings. We're on a list of kind of like a whole number of these that are like, oh, you might as well just throw the device away. It seems like week after week we're running up against yet another. You know what? Just break it in half and throw it away. It's done.
Who needs designed obsolescence anymore? Designed insecurity. Nah, you got to toss it, or else.
Yep.
Every week when news comes out, I just find myself wondering more and more, is there any motherboard company that actually wants business? Because they all seem to be in these self-defeating cycles of, releasing crap or crap software or, flawed products that, burn up your chips, or
Or
whatever.
just really expensive boards.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah,
True.
It's not an $89 board anymore.
No.
Well, it's expensive to implement things like PCIe Gen 5. It's not free. We were content with Gen 3.
You got to add a lot of layers and retimers and all that crap. It's not
useful. Very useful right now.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
It is. God, I'm getting old. I'm getting on to get off my lawn. I'm not excited about
my lawn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not terribly excited about these kind of updates anymore. It's just
Nope.
But I guess I get, I would be excited, but there's so many trade-offs. And price, power, and heat are the trade-offs you get for going to Gen 5 PCI Express, and complexity of the products.
And active
Maybe
cooling.
6.0 will change things around where they'll have a better way of signaling, and I don't know.
And then 7 will come out. They've already ratified 7 as a standard, right?
Yes.
Are they up to 8 yet? It just seems like every year they're like, hey, you know how we doubled the throughput per lane last time? Let's do it
Theoretically.
again. Let's do it again. And then leave it up to the manufacturers to implement it and figure out how to do it without making the boards $1,000. That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, and Essential Kazoo wants me to point out, because he's mentioned a couple of times, don't download any Minecraft mods right now. There are dozens and dozens of very, very popular ones which have a Fracturizer in them. So, yeah, it's going to ruin your bloody day. Really, really going to ruin your day. Or, more likely, your kid is going to ruin your day because it'll be the kid downloading the mod.
Oh, my kids ruined my life, so don't worry about that.
That's what they're for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's pause here for a word from this week's podcast sponsor.
As a software engineer, it's not always straightforward to find just the right place to practice your craft. People like us can often find it difficult to settle into just the right role for our careers. Well, consider Bloomberg. They're out there working to build a top-notch information network for financial professionals, and they're looking for engineers to join their team. Personally, I know that I've always wanted to work on challenging projects that had real impact on actual shipping products and services, but sometimes that has just not worked out. While I've not yet worked for Bloomberg, they're forward-looking and are building tools their clients will come to rely on for systems that matter in solving real-world complex problems across global capital markets. They're working in real-time market and enterprise data with sophisticated analytics that are touched by over 350,000 financial professionals. Bloomberg systems operate at tremendous scale with over 300 billion, yes, B as in billion, market messages daily. So many of you will already be up to speed on the majority of Bloomberg software, as it's built in C++, JavaScript, and Python. So you're obviously not going to get locked into a proprietary shop, as Bloomberg's engineers are active members of the open source community in both leveraging and making commits back to many projects. Learn more about the opportunities that await you by visiting bloomberg.com/careers. That's bloomberg.com/careers.
We're back and we're going to talk about Diablo 4, which is apparently doing so well that there's a Business Wire press release bragging about it. Diablo 4 launches immediately sets new record as Blizzard Entertainment's fastest selling game of all time. They claim that people have played 10,000 years worth of the game so far.
Just over the
That's a lot
past
of-
5 or 6 days.
Wow.
That's a
Wow,
lot.
that seems like a long game.
So yeah, it's doing really well.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm happy about is that the microtransactions are just for cosmetic stuff. You don't actually have to do that to play the game. So that's nice.
Yeah, I've just bought it once. I got the deluxe early edition, so I started playing it on Friday. And yeah, it's fantastic.
Do you need a new mouse
Very
yet?
very few problems. What?
Do you need a new mouse yet?
Not quite yet, but it's getting there. There's a lot of clicking. Let me tell you, Diablo 1 was even worse on mice than the current one. But no, it's it's got a good story. It's got a lot of depth to the story. It's got all kinds of other things and places to do. It's very non-linear. I have been enjoying my time, and the graphics are great. The artwork is great. It runs pretty well at my 3440 by what is my? I can never remember that one.
1440?
Ultra wide,
By-
1440.
Yeah, it's my ultra wide. Anyway, 3440 by 1440. Anyway.
Correct, sir.
Gotcha. But anyway, it's a RTX 3080, and I'm running with DLSS balanced, and it's running 120 frames smooth. Something that was kind of interesting. Somebody sent me a screenshot of them running it on a 7900 XTX with 24 gigs of memory.
Oh, really?
And video memory usage was 21 gigs on this at a higher ultra wide screen resolution. So I don't know if that scales or if it just reserves a percentage of the memory on your board. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see it can take up to 21, 22 gigs of VRAM space if you let it.
Yeah, I think it's an allocation thing, but
Probably.
Yeah, I
Here
think
it
it's an
is.
allocation. There's so many games now that they just see how much video memory there is, and they just allocate 80 or 90% of it, and then that's why people go, "Hey, my this game is using 16 gigs on my or 12 gigs on my 16 gig card, so obviously 8 gigs is not enough." But it's only allocation; it's not actual usage of it.
Yeah. We just reserved
And
it.
to the best of my knowledge, nobody has come out with a tool yet that actually shows usage.
no.
It only shows allocation.
The standard in our field for measuring graphics card usage is basically NVIDIA's tools. Because they actually will send hardware out to reviewers to do things like PCI Express slot power pass-through testing and direct PCI Express pass-through power testing.
I thought the way we were doing that was just to look at a screenshot and then record a 1 hour expose on it and do it to YouTube. And have like a shocked look expression on your face when you're doing the thumbnail.
And there's our thumbnail for the show this week.
Yep.
My point in bringing that up is the last time I spoke with an NVIDIA technical person, it was either this last launch or the one before it. I was like, hey, do you guys have any internal tools to measure VRAM usage? And the answer was no. There isn't anything out there. There's plenty of stuff that will show you what the current VRAM usage is, but I cannot get a definitive answer on allocation versus actual usage, and there's nothing that shows that in real time. The only thing that it will show is what has been reserved for use, and then you have to just look at frame times. If it looks like it's stuttering, like Far Cry 6 with HD textures enabled, I get a low VRAM warning when I'm running that on the 7600 or the 4060, and those are obviously 8 gig cards. It has the Far Cry games will tell you down at the bottom as you're adjusting settings how much VRAM it's going to use. You're well under 8 still. I think it's like 6 point something at 1080 high HD textures enabled. But then it gives you a low VRAM warning as soon as you fire it up. And then you see the slowdowns, which it looks like the entire game just stops for a moment and then starts up again. It's not just, oh, it's a little stuttery. It's like it grinds to a halt. So clearly there's something wrong with that. It's as if it was going out to main memory and running out of VRAM. So I don't doubt that. All of the reports out there that 8 gigs is not enough for games like that with HG textures. But monitoring the actual usage in game, I think would have to be game engine. Something would have to tap into that. There'd have to be an API, I'm assuming. Is everybody ready for the best photography in the history of PCPerspective.com?
Should I mute myself as I do the release the seed ritual?
Yeah. I'm waiting with bated breath.
I mean, if you've been watching the podcast, you know that our center square is this new enclosure, but here it is in all of its glory. The Fractal Terra Mini ITX.
It's as big as a 12 case of Coke.
And it is a fantastic case. As I said in the review, I had one complaint about this case, and that's because the color match on the top panel is off. Other than that, this was absolutely a joy to build in. The performance for a case of this size is absolutely ridiculous. I actually had some concern. I didn't know that even though that the sides are as vented as they are, that it would allow as much air into the system as it does. It was easy to build in. Very, very high-end system. The outer shell's all aluminum. The inner shell is steel. It's got they went upscale with it, real leather, even mimicked the classic Mercedes gull wing doors. And those are removable with just a little spring clip on each door. And you have full access to the inner spine of the case, which you can actually adjust the spine side to side to give more room for the cooler of the CPU and less room for the GPU, or vice versa. In my case, the system I put in, I used, I believe, at level 5, which is around 57 millimeters of clearance on the CPU cooler. You can get up to a Founders Edition 4080 or 4090 inside it with no problem. You can't get some of the add-in board partners 4090s in there. That's a 3080 12 gig reference card, PNY reference card. So it's single width, but as you can see, that's not a small card, and there's plenty of room.
Kent, I apologize. I just realized looking this over that I left out a little cluster of photos. I was going to put in the one where it showed that Asus card that didn't fit in, and you had a side view of the 4090 or 4080 FE.
Oh, that's fine.
That's all supposed to be in here. Or I'll add it.
That's okay.
I'll put it like right here.
But it was a joy to build in. There's actually space in it for cable management. The way they install the power supply, it sits up facing with the connectors down, so there's plenty of room underneath it. Probably the worst issue with the cable management is the main power pigtail that it uses that runs along the front inner chassis. It's a little awkward to get to the actual connector on the power supply. But you just have to sort of move it about. There are standoffs for the power supply bracket. So if you have a blow through card, there's room for that air to move through and exhaust upward. You can actually put a 120 fan below the power supply and the rear of the card of your GPU. You will lose almost all of your cable management space doing that. And I sort of question the benefits, because you're really only going to be pulling air in onto the rear portion of the card where, that's not going to be the bottleneck in cooling anyway.
What about one of those
And
ultra
besides, I love
slim
the sound of-
fans?
You got to love
I'm
the
sorry?
sound of a high velocity fan hitting a power cord.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You would have to really work a lot harder on the cable management there if you did it that way. And like I say, I don't know how effective that would truly be. But the test system I've been using in the all of the ITX cases I've done recently, the Fractal Ridge, the Fantex Shift XT, and then this. And this is the smallest case, even smaller than the Fantex in its smallest configuration. This is still much smaller. This is 10.4 liters, and it absolutely killed them in performance. The GPU temps were fantastic in both the stress test using Unigen Heaven at max settings and also in the gaming test. The CPU test, you're running Cinebench R23 for the full 10 minutes. The CPU got to just below the 100-degree throttling point, but it didn't get there. It did not throttle during that. And the temp that was actually, when it hit that, was actually more toward the middle of the test. It stayed a little further away from that for the remainder of the test. I think at the last run of the render on that, it was maxed around 96, which that's still hot, but you're talking about a 10.4 liter case that most people aren't going to be rendering on. They're going to be using a case like this for gaming. And in gaming performance, everything was just fantastic. The GPU temps were phenomenal. The CPU temps were completely reasonable. As a matter of fact, I don't even think they were. I think they were quite good for the gaming test, which is a 30-minute gaming test. You're talking about it's 51.5 delta, and that's a 23.5 ambient temperature. So you're looking at basically 75 degrees on a 12th gen processor that's designed to run at 100. And yeah, the case is very high quality. The performance is outstanding for any case, let alone something this small.
Yeah.
I had no complaints other than the color mismatch on the top panel. I think there was a photo in there where I tried to capture it. I'm actually streaming off of that system right now and looking at it. The color mismatch is pretty clear. Yeah, that one captures it.
Yeah. I see what you're talking about there.
And I cannot tell. I've not been able to determine if that top panel is plastic and has a metallic paint on it. It does. I think it might be that it just has a metallic paint on it. None of it's magnetic except for the inner shell, so I can't determine that way. But that could be the cause for the mismatch. Or it could just be this was I had this just before they released it. So it could be either pre-production or early production. Just a issue.
For science,
man,
you want to just snap that lid, that upper panel in half, and just do an analysis of the.
No, I really don't. But I mean, if you want me to, I will. But
you can scratch it on
do
the
a heavy
inside.
scratch. Yeah, on the bottom.
Yeah, do a scratch.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Kent, just for the audio listeners, what's the price on this?
This was $179, I believe.
Yep.
I'm actually working on another. Yeah. I'm glad I got that because I'm working on another review right now, and I erased the old price from my brain. Yeah, it's $179, and it is a full Gen 4 riser cable inside.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just the materials, the quality, the fact that it is a Gen 4 riser instead of a Gen 3. Yeah, it's an amazing case, regardless of the
So they're
price.
kind of getting down to the size of the old shuttle cases, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this case is literally the size of a shoebox.
Yeah.
And
What cooler did you squeeze in there?
that is an ID Cooling IS55, and despite the
Okay.
name, it's a 57 millimeter height cooler. It's one of the better small form factor coolers I've encountered. The biggest problem with it is you have to use low profile and generally bare RAM. Even like the Corsair LPX sticks
Oh.
will they won't interfere, but they will touch.
Yeah.
So yeah, but pretty much bare sticks. But other than that, I mean, that's actually a really very good performing cooler for small form factor, especially at only 57 millimeters high, and it's cheap. It's $40 with a 15 millimeter fan, a 15 millimeter thick, 120 millimeter size fan, and it includes screws for a full 25 millimeter thick fan if you want to go that route. But yeah, I really don't have enough accolades for this case. I was absolutely shocked at the temperatures I got. They were almost as good as with an open bench and on the same system.
Crazy.
I could not believe how well it breathed. There was a team of engineers at Fractal who
Just don't set it
knocked it out of the
outside
park.
if you're in. Am I unmuted?
What's that?
Yeah, just don't set it outside. If you're in New York, it will soon stop breathing.
Yes,
True.
yeah.
I mean, look at it. Look at the design. Those slots are very big. If you look at the old
I like the wood.
Encase M1, which of course looks like a monster compared to this thing, it was pretty well ventilated, but not to that extent. It was only the upper half of each side panel. And
I think slots trump holes.
they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Josh and I were talking over each other, I was saying there's a team of engineers at Fractal who hit it out of the park on this case. That's all I can say about it. It's just blew my mind at how
Noise
good
levels
this
were
little
good
case
as
is.
well.
What's that?
The noise levels were great as well.
As good as the open chassis. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's no fans. There's no fans in it. So it's going to be basically as loud as the system you put in it.
Yeah.
I haven't been doing on the small form factor cases the sound testing that I used to do. And I've actually, the case I'm working on right now, I have completely upgraded the way I'm measuring sound. And I'm actually glad that I'm excited to show that to you guys when I get this next review in.
Nice.
So.
Kent, I see that the Fractal site actually has this case in 3 different colors: black,
Yes.
white, which is to be expected.
And jade.
It's actually
colors.
silver.
And okay, all right. Silver.
I like the jade.
Very, very nice.
The jade is really nice, and
But
it's the one color that's sold out.
A greenish tone, very interesting, bold choice in my opinion. Nice.
Yeah. I actually suspected that jade color would sell out very quickly. I am personally not a big fan of green at all. So I actually initially asked for white as you thought, and got a message back from the Fractal rep, and he said, no, it's silver.
Silver.
Yeah,
Thank you for
the
correcting
silver
me.
looks fantastic.
But I have to say that it certainly does look white on the Fractal site.
It does.
Yes. Not silver at all.
Some manufacturers call silver white when it's plain anodized aluminum.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I have an amplifier that the box claims it's white. It's silver. But I mean,
Yeah.
It's argent.
Yeah, and actually, this build took a lot of stress off of me because I'm always looking at cases and going, "How much water cooling equipment can I fit in there?" And I looked at this one and said, "Okay, I just need to abandon that train of thought entirely."
You could do
But
external water cooling.
Yeah, it made building in this case less stressful and just very enjoyable to see how well it performed with air cooling. Like I say, it's just this case probably the best case I have reviewed on the since I've been here. Just as far as overall quality versus performance, they knocked it out of the park.
I love it that we've reached the point where a mainstream enclosure maker like Fractal, that's everywhere, that you can just go out and buy this product, and it's not a crowdfunded boutique kind of bespoke construction working at great expense for tooling and
or
stuff.
$350.
Right.
And that 3 years ago, if to buy a case this size that may not have even been anywhere near the quality or the performance, it would have been $350, $400. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Small runs, and it's very expensive to get a company like Leon Lee to tool up and make an enclosure for you, and that's why those other cases were so expensive. Like this. And by the way, I don't recommend testing with this GPU if you're going to do sound testing. Mm-hmm. The 290X.
Sorry, what was that? I couldn't hear you. I've gone deaf.
But I mean, even this is the Dan cases. Yep. Way back in the day, I was loaned an A4 SFX. One of our viewers had bought it, sent it to the site, and then I passed it along back to them. Very, very, very kind of them. I think that was the deal. And
yeah, $400.
Maybe that was the N-Case M1. I don't remember anymore. But this thing is about the same size. I mean, actually slightly narrower because it only supported up to a dual slot GPU, but we're dealing in very much the same territory as far as overall volume is concerned. Although the new Fractal case holds a bigger cooler.
Right.
You can put a modern GPU in it, and not just a middle of the road GPU. You can fit a 4090 in this in a Founders Edition. You would probably need to either use the cable mod 90-degree plug adapter, or there's a lot of the power supply.
You can just cut a hole in the top.
Yeah. It might be plastic. That could be very easy. Just get your Dremel out. Regardless of the material of the top panel, what is the front panel wood situation? Is that a veneer?
It's a veneer.
Hardwood? Okay.
It's a veneer. It's definitely
just a vinyl wrap piece of plastic.
And the front panel is also definitely painted plastic. But the front panel, but the front panel matches the rest of it, which is why it's so confusing about the top.
Yeah. They did a really nice job with the color matching if that's plastic.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see it has to be plastic because inside it there's molding that the power supply pigtail is sort of channeled through.
Okay. But you know what? They had to hit a price point. You got to cut corners and that's not really cutting corners. You are making it, what is the term that's used everywhere now? Accessible. It's an accessible price point. $179 for this level of engineering and quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crafted to elevate, says the marketing here. Designed and engineered to enhance small form factor.
I do like the green though.
So do I.
That's just
it's so retro and classy looking to me.
It's just
they're calling it 70s. They're calling it 70s retro in the chat.
Wood grain. Look at that wood. Aluminium.
And in case the folks with the penchant for the green case, it's sold out right now. So Fractal,
I know. I was disappointed.
They've apparently designed something very desirable there. It's the color
I
of
did-
money.
Now, I will, if I know I'm getting a case, and actually I had this one before the review embargo lifted, and I'd completed it before the embargo lifted. I won't watch anyone else's reviews. I did watch a couple of reviews on this after I'd submitted mine, and really I saw two complaints. One reviewer had the black case, and it's a matte black, and apparently it picks up fingerprints and dead skin cells off your fingers like nobody's business. The other was something that I could sort of see. I felt like they were making a little bit bigger deal out of it than it needed to be. Where the thumb screws for mounting the graphics card PCI slots are, there's no way you can get a screwdriver to them, but they're large thumb screws. But they had a lot of difficulty, and they were using a very large card getting to those by hand and getting them tight. And now I did fit a couple of larger cards in there, and it was a little more difficult, but I didn't have that much trouble. And with the 3080 12 gig that's in there right now, it was absolutely completely easy because you could reach to those thumb screws from inside or outside or both, and it made it just fine.
It's time for picks of the week. Josh, please get us started.
If you like it, just pick up Diablo 4. Just fold. Just get it.
Right.
It's fun. I love Diablo 1. I mean, Diablo 2, didn't love it as much as 1. Number 3, didn't like it as much as 2. But 4, 4's great. Isn't that funny?
Oh,
Best
that's a gorgeous
marketing
picture. I love
Best marketing ever.
Look at you.
that. So that's why the forest fires started.
Yep.
Damn you, Diablo.
Clinton.
Hey, they've
Welcome
done
to
worse.
hell. Yeah.
Jeremy, your pick.
Well, I mean, say you've got an old video card that you're worried isn't going to handle Diablo 4. Well, how about an RTX 3070 Ti OC for 600 Canadian? This is unheard of. This is a ridiculous deal. And there's a 3060 for about $100 cheaper if you can't quite afford this one. But yeah, these are selling usually between 9 to 11. So being able to grab that for $600 is pretty impressive up here. If you happen to be shopping for a card.
In American dollars,
$450.
Yeah,
About $450.
$450. So that's a pretty.
How
good
much
deal.
are you paying
Not
for a
bad.
3070 Ti down there?
I don't know. Probably close to that.
Why do you shop by length?
Yeah, exactly. It looks
What's
like it's better than we
$529?
get here.
Cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a really good deal right now. So if you can get to Canada Computers or order it, go for it.
Beautiful.
Brett,
You know, I think we're all absolutely enamored with Apple's latest M. offerings. And what I'm talking about is M2 Ultra, M2 Max. I think we all really are totally in love with them. But perhaps you're going to be missing a little bit of the Intel historical from Apple. Well, there's a way that you can still take advantage of this if you just must have an Intel-based Macintosh.
So affordable. Look.
And it's so affordable. You can still get directly from Apple
How
a
much?
refurbished Mac Mini at 3 gigahertz, 6-core Intel i5 for only $1,609. Snap them up before they're gone.
How is
and in
that?
Case,
why?
Is that like Tim saying, look, if you have to have it, you're going to pay
Yes.
me $1,600 for it?
for the refurb unit.
For
now,
a
in case
refurbished Core i5.
In case the joke wasn't completely obvious, this is
Good
more of an
grief.
anti-pick for me.
Yeah.
And it was more along the lines of the fact that there is no more Intel from Apple. Au contraire, there is an Intel.
Well,
yet
from their,
from Apple.
refurb store for
But
a
I-
while.
Yeah, 4
I had
years
to
ago.
I had to dig pretty hard through the refurb store to find any Intel Mac that you could still buy. And it is clearly insulting to buy a Mac Mini for $1,600 with an i5. So don't buy it, but it still exists.
Kent, your pick.
So I don't know if anyone's noticed, but premium fans now cost a premium price, whether they've got RGB or not. The Noctua NF-A12 is over $30. The new Be Quiet Silent Wings Pro 4s are the same. The Fantex T30s are right at $30. Or you could go with Arctic and their new P12 Max fan. This is a dual ball bearing fan. Goes up to 3,300 RPMs. But the nice thing is you don't have to spin them that fast to get good performance out of them. There's no RGB, but this is a very well-made fan. I have bought 4 of these. They perform very well, even at lower speeds and lower noise levels. They're not quite up to like the Fantex T30, but they're not far behind. They're better than they outperform slightly the old standby, the old Gentle Typhoons from Nidec. And these are $8.99 a piece right now. You can get 3 of these. You can get 3 of these for the price of one, for cheaper than one NF-A12 Noctua.
Wow.
I just missed the sale on these. I just put 3 of these in a TrueNAS server a couple weeks ago. I wish I'd waited.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Aren't available in Canada. That just sucks.
Good price.
Sold out.
It's like we got a
When they-
radio signal from above. Wow.
Wow.
Now, it's a new fan. When they first came out, Hardware Canucks did a review of them and raved about them. And then several people bought them early and started complaining about bearing noise. I think that either they were expecting quieter than a dual ball bearing because it is not as quiet as a fluid dynamic bearing, or maybe there were some inconsistencies in the early batch. But like I said, I have 4 of them, and they're all perfectly fine. The noise level is acceptable. There's no shaft play in them.
I'm sorry.
They're very well made fans.
Wording.
Shaft
Phrasing.
play. Okay. Who has some words of wisdom for our outro? Josh, you want to do an outro? You haven't done it in a while.
Oh, geez.
You don't
it's
have
been
to.
so long. It's the beginning of summer. It's time for hope and joy for people in the northern hemisphere, and a time of despair and unhappiness for those who like light in the southern hemisphere. So for those of us up north, enjoy this summer, regardless of the smoke, because eventually smoke will go away. So yeah, listen to less podcasts and go outside more, or vice versa.